What's going on, everyone? Vampyr Gaming here, and before we begin, if you can just do me a favor, you see this link right here. It'll also be right here in the YouTube comments. You can click that. It's the shop TCGPlayer, and it'll help support me on any single purchase you may be making. Whether you're going to purchase something from this video or you think you might later, feel free to click that. It takes 2 seconds, helps me out a lot. And with that, let's go ahead and subscribe and dive in. So, in today's video, we're really going to be talking about the bans that are looming, the list that we will get an update come next month at the World Finals in Japan. I think the big three, right, is that a lot of people are talking about is somehow Doflamingo, somehow Blackbeard, a little bit of Blackbeard talk. I know you might not have heard it, but it's there. And so we got Blackbeard, Doflamingo, purple overall with the Gum Gum Giant because of Gurple Luffy. Gurple Luffy is still dominating, as we can see. However, slight note, one thing that I noticed, and it happened the same time as Sakazuki, suddenly once a ban was like imminent, a lot of people stopped playing Sakazuki. And then I think the same thing with like RP Law. A lot of people suddenly stopped playing RP Law. I think it was to try to like throw him off the scent. So I don't know if Gurple's the real move or if it's just like one of those throw off the scents of Doflamingo. You know, smoke or beat it. So do with that information what you will. But I think, of course, with Gum Gum Giant being a big card, huge card, a lot of value packed into one. No other card does that. And it's essentially locked to Monkey D. Luffy because there's no other purple Straw Hat leaders. And everybody's like, oh, well, the purple's no longer playable. Well, I mean, it's really just Luffy's not playable, right? There's still a whole suite of purple leaders. They just make the good ones, Luffy. I digress. Luffy is one of the cards we kind of want to look at. You can kind of see here. It's really interesting because you see it's kind of slightly trending down. There's a lot less sales. It's still sitting around 60. It was peaking around, you know, we see 70 was the highest. So slowly coming down because if this, you know, arguably if Giant is hit, it takes away the biggest defense mechanism that Purple Luffy has. And so I think a lot of people are just hesitant to pick up, you know, this all art leader as it might be affected. Same thing here. I think we see this one a little bit more. We can kind of see, you know, this card did just continually like go down, but it started in like December. The card was very expensive for a long time. This is the PSA collab, and it was like 180. 130 feels like a steal because it's never been that low in the history of it. There's two driving factors for this. The first one being the reprint, or rather the new promo of Boa. So it shows that their PSA's collab is likely going to continue. They're going to make more leaders and do more promotion cards. So that might be a small impact on this. People thought this was a one and done, but on top of that, I think a big part of it is, you know, that purple Luffy ban looming. A lot of people will, you know, Gum Gum Giant. A lot of people are like, oh, okay, you know, I picked this up. Well, I don't want to be a bag holder, so maybe I get rid of it now. And things like that. So it's just really interesting to see that this is the cheapest the card has been essentially since like the first person got theirs and sold it for like $100. So if you were looking to pick this up, March might be the time. A lot of people are going to get their Boa, but then also a lot of people are going to be afraid of those bans. So I think anything in the 100 range is probably fine, but I think it's a great price where it is now. Again, you know, it was 200, then it stayed 170, 150, 140, 130, and now it's made it all the way down to like 130. And then, of course, the biggest speculation is Sakazuki. Everybody's talking Sakazuki this, Sakazuki that, and it's what, you know, it's the talk of the town, it's the clickbait. It's got me, you know, and if they don't do anything to Doffy, I guess, you know, you could just bring him back. It's probably fine. However, I still think they made a leader that gave you 2 free effects, and they banned it. They did not errata it. A lot of people like to say he's been errated. However, it is not. They released a entirely new card as a promo rather than altering this card's text. OP09 041 is this Sakazuki leader. The other one is a promo. There is a difference. So in theory, they could bring this leader back. If they errated him, like a true errata, it means that they would have no intentions of ever like bringing this guy back. But the fact that they made that promo does infer that they wanted this card's text to remain unchanged, because then he could potentially make a return, and then there's just a worse version of the leader out there. So that's always super interesting to me. But he has climbed up, you know, this card. People are using him as Don. But he was $16, and then he was selling for $50 at one point. I think some people bought him for $50. F in the chats for them. But Sakazuki is one of those cards everybody has their eyes on. And then, of course, everything around Sakazuki is also Stage Saka was something that really took off. You can see here is a buck. Now we're looking at 3 4s over here on Navy HQ. In the thoughts that, you know, this might return to the deck. You got Stage, Leader, Rebecca Helmeppo, Hina, Ama Sword, and you just go and cry yourself to sleep at night after a Gecko. So this card has been creeping up. You see here, obviously, this is like the same period in which they announced it. You see 95 sales out of nowhere. So this card's a little expensive. You know, if you really think it's going to come unbanned, you can go ahead and hold on to these. If you don't, you can get rid of them. You can get rid of them and make probably a couple bucks. And then, of course, along that train, both of these in the same deck, too. Absolute Justice being an absolute menace. We've got Great Eruption sitting at $4. This actually shook me because I actually own quite a bit of Great Eruptions. Because I bought them anywhere from like $1.50 before they reprinted the decks to like $1.50 to $1. Anything in that range that I could buy 4 of, I would just buy 4. Anytime they popped up, then it was sitting at like nothing. You know, it was 90. It was an 80-cent card, and I was like, I bought these for nothing. Well, now they're $4. So it's really interesting to see. This is one of those cards that are banned as well. I think this card adds a lot of power to Blackbeard if we unleash it, because then they can just play this, draw, and get the minus no matter what. We've seen them play cards like Tempest Kick and things like that, but just things to load up their trash, but also, you know, help them find their pieces on their way up. I think is very scary, plus enabling their cards like Finger Pistol. And then, of course, more cards surrounding Saka, Houndblaze. You know, we've seen it. It's PRB has just been trailblazing its way to being expensive. But he did, you know, it was $20, cooled off a bit, and now here we see it at 55, and we are seeing a little bit of sales in that area. But we see not too long ago it was 45, 38, and it's made its way all the way up to 55. And in the same realm, I actually really like these. I've said this before in these videos. The textured foils, I think, are very underappreciated. I'm actually probably going to buy one of these as soon as I'm done recording this video, because I truly and genuinely like these cards. I think they're really good. And we're right on the cusp of OP11 as well in Asia. I've seen a lot of people testing, starting to figure things out. Most of the set has been revealed at this point. I think there's like 6 cards that we don't know, but we know all the super rares. We know all the main combo pieces, so I can't imagine it varies that much, or they're going to introduce anything groundbreaking. We might even know the full set list at this point. Yeah, there's just nothing, you know, it's all, I'm pretty sure we have the full set list now that I'm thinking about it. But yeah, really interesting to see. But we've got this, of course, really hyped up. And then Ice Age. Ice Age is kind of like that counter thesis. A lot of people think Ice Age might get hit. You know, we're talking ban speculation. Ice Age kind of went up a lot, and now it's kind of coming back down. And this card is phenomenal. And this is, of course, the alternate art version from the Best Selection Volume 1, which is very old, but this card looks very good. But it was, you can see here, sales going up, and now it's like trying to figure out what it wants to do. So, interested to see. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. What cards do you think are going to be affected by the list? But then, let's talk about things, again, you know, we were talking about things that might be unbanned and influence things. Well, there's, of course, the fear of bans. We saw it last set with Gecko Moria. Gecko Moria alts went all the way down to $30 and shot like right back up to 70. It was the craziest thing ever. But everybody thought Gecko Moria was going to be banned, and Gecko Moria was not. Well, now we see here kind of Doflamingo. This is kind of a hard card to gauge, but we see here high 200s, mid 200s. Now we're looking here. We see like low 200s. Law when he got banned. or well, like rather when wasn't banned, but when he became less good, his price went down a lot. We're kind of seeing that here on Doflamingo, so it's either a great opportunity or a terrible opportunity, because if they do hit Doflamingo in any way, this card is going to go down a bit more. But, you know, it's $220. Again, it was kind of up there, $250, slowly making its way down. Plenty more blue cards. This is actually crazy to me. Jinbei alts, you can buy them $16 right now. $16, $18, sub $20. You can get Jinbeis. This card is heavily speculated, especially after we saw the PRB. And if you haven't checked out that video talking about PRB 2, we got confirmed PRB 2 the best. Go ahead and check that out on the channel, and while you're there, feel free to hit that subscribe button. It's right there. Yep, boom, that's how you do it. Thanks. And then we've got, we just got Jinbei 17, and we see it here too. I mean, I still have a couple of these Jinbeis. I think I'm just gonna see what happens. We'll see what happens, because he is $7 now. He was 10, slowly making his way down. You know, again, right here, we get that ban speculation. It's like boop, 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 you know. So it's a similar thing I think we saw with Gecko. Gecko slowly made his way back down. But if they don't hit him, he's going to skyrocket back up. So only time will tell. And then Monkey D. Luffy kind of just talking OP10 as we gear up for that. Get it? Gear up for that. We've got a couple here. They're about $30, which it was kind of took me by surprise. You know, you see it's slowly just kind of increased in price. This card is technically playable in Usopp, but it's very mixed on if builds decide to play it. You know, I wanted to play this card in Lucci, and then I ended up cutting it, so I don't know how I feel about it in Usopp, but I do know, you know, it's Gear 4. It's a very iconic moment, and it's $30. Maybe you had this just lying around. And then, of course, circling back to that PRB conversation, if you haven't seen it, Sabo is confirmed for a reprint, and then here we see this is an absolute steal, actually, because this shipping, and Foxoff might not know it, but if you add all of these to your cart, this shipping is just $39.99. So every one after the first one will be $12.70. So you could buy 5. But do you want to buy 5? Card was announced to be reprinted, was sitting at $20, quickly made its way down to almost 15. It's in their 16, 17 range. And we're not going to see this reprint, I want to say, until September. So you still have 7 months of play in them until it gets reprinted, and is more than likely going to be $1 super rare. But until then, there's still a lot of value to be had. But I'm sure as more things are announced and we get closer to that, because it's still a ways away in Japan as well, or in Asia as a whole, from them getting PRB 02. So really interesting. I'm definitely going to get rid of my set probably soon. I have an extra set, so I'll probably just get rid of those, pick them up, and if I find myself not playing Sabo any less, I'll probably just get rid of all the ones that I have, and should I, for whatever reason, need to pick them up, I will. But we have Bon Clay as well, so we got PRB. Again, definitely recommend checking out the video. I've been kind of just keeping tabs on this here. Not used in Gerpa Luffy. Very relevant right now. Became very expensive. Slowly made its way back down. But what we've seen from the Asian distributors is it cites OP01 to OP10 allegedly to be in PRB 02. There's zero mention specifically of EB01, and TBD if we're going to see cards in it. If we do, of course, instant win. And if we see secrets like this, you know, we saw Katakuri become a $50 card to a $8 card. Would absolutely love nothing more than to see that here, because Bon Clay, of course, has gotten quite expensive and prices people out of, you know, playing some purple decks. But Gerpa Luffy doesn't need this, so that's great. So kind of just keep your eyes on this. Obviously, if it doesn't get reprinted, I think it just goes up more. But if it does, you know, it could very well be a $5 secret rare, which would be phenomenal either way. And if you are buying singles, once again, click that link. YouTube comment section or in the video description. It helps me out a lot. And then, of course, I've talked about him before. And if you bought him, great. I'm glad you listened. I think it's one of the best cards in Gerpa Luffy and in just green overall, Smoker as well. He was sitting here at $2 for way too long. I've been mentioning him since he was $1. Been mentioning him as a 2. I mentioned him before. Like, this card is just the best card I think Green has. And most of Green's cards are incredibly fair. But this is actually like the best card that Green has. And I've stood on that business forever. And it's finally made its way back up. We're seeing it's kind of like a $6-7 card once again, and I mean it makes sense. I think it deserves that price. I think it was just too cheap considering how expensive it was until we got the reprint. This card was $40 and it became $1, and like there was zero reason to not pick up a playset of it at $1 to $2. So I sincerely hope you have these. If that's any reason, I think it's a great reason you can subscribe. I try to put you all on game if I notice something and I think it makes sense. Hope you get the singles and get into your deck for as cheap as possible and make this game as affordable. The game's already beyond affordable, but just try to make it a little bit more so because I do understand. And then, of course, we've got this guy right here, Zoro. This is just the craziest thing in the world to me. I cannot wrap my head around this one bit. But, I mean, this is just out of scope for my wallet, and that is what it is. However, this is one of those cards. Zoro across the board has been flying, and then the promo pack one from the event pack is actually more expensive than the alternate art ones. It looks phenomenal, by the way. And it's, of course, the iconic Zoro. This just, all the SPs from Emperors in the New World have gone crazy. The sealed boxes are slowly climbing up. And, I mean, this is more expensive than any OP09. And this already has, like, more winning cards, arguably. This is more expensive than any OP09 SP. And just that's the part that I can't wrap my head around. It really gets me. I'm not 100%, I mean, I just really wanted to mention this card. If anyone can explain. It is used in Gerpel. Gerpel Luffy plays this card. So there is that. But I just... $180 from what was it was $50. $180. And even worse, Nami. $130. $330. And it's getting sales. I just something else. But maybe you pulled this and you didn't know you had a $300 card. It's something to keep your eyes on. The whole Emperors in a New World as a whole, you kind of see the mangas are kind of getting eaten up. I don't want the mangas, right? Just because I imagine we see PRBO2 having the God Pack again, and then we just see these all get really cheap. So that's my theory, and that's the reason why I haven't bought any of these. So hopefully I'm right. The wanted cards, too, also creep. I mean, you only see 3 listings here for Buggy as well. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, see, they bought out Buggy. And, I need to pick up this Shanks. I'm not picking up this Shanks. So that's cool. Yeah, I mean, it's super expensive. And everything is just, like, kind of climbing up. And I just don't think, I mean, the booster boxes are just $150. And there's a lot, just a lot of expensive cards you can pull from it. They, of course, the thing here is there is only 2 and it's split, so there is the argument for that. Usually there's 2 SPs in a booster or in a case, and then this one is split. You get 1 SP, 1 wanted per case, so that might be influencing it overall. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. But finally, to wrap things off, I like to leave on an interesting note. So again, I've talked a lot about PRBO2. I think it has a huge impact on the market. And then, of course, these were the 2 secrets we never saw reprinted. So it might be something to kind of keep your eyes on because we could very well see them. Sanji, big speculation for the Luffy, the blue-purple Luffy leader. A lot of people think Sanji is going to be really good, so that's kind of why he's been holding this $20 price tag as of late. I do have a couple of these just hanging around ready for this. And, of course, I had mine already for Marco. Shout out him. But they're pretty, of course, Zoro being more expensive, as he should be. Something to just keep your eyes on, especially if you have these and you're not playing them. I've been seeing Bonnie playing Zoro a little bit more, seeing the return of him there. But just overall, super interesting. If they get reprinted, of course, you know, these cards can become very cheap very quickly. So I just really wanted to get these on your radar. Maybe you didn't know your Sanjis are 20s. If you think you might be a blue-purple Luffy guy, you know, maybe make sure you have your Sanjis. But maybe if you're not playing green, maybe you're ready to Zoros. Do with this what you will. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. If you found this content of value, you can just do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. It helps me out a lot, and I will see you in the next one.